Wake up, it's party time, Southwest Florida.
Good morning, good evening, I'm Kevin Dunn, and this is the Party News Network, Southwest Florida's only native network, a program dedicated to the belief that not everyone who's settled in this area has come here to mark time and die. This is why I'm going to miss you most, Scarecrow. These are electrifying times in Fort Myers. DJ Wilkins, sculptor, fountain engineer, and proponent of public art, tells us something very exciting about a presentation to the Fort Myers Beautification Committee.
Yes, Kevin, this coming Tuesday, the Fort Myers Beautification Committee will look at a video showing the progress that they have made over the last 5 years in beautifying and restoring the city of Fort Myers. One of the outstanding examples of this ongoing progress is Centennial Park. Let's take a look at Centennial Park and see how it's all coming along. The idea that someone could engineer an environment and put it right along our Centennial Park this way just intrigues me. What a wonderful pier this is. Everything is so beautifully designed. An efficiency and an economy of structure. And by coming out on the pier, you can look back at the city and the skyline and just imagine what the park is going to be like whenever it's done. There'll be mangroves growing up, sawgrasses, birds flying in and out of, and behind that will be the features that make up the main decorative aspects of the park. This does look like it's turning out to be a century of pride and progress, considering the progress that's been made over the last 5 years in restoring and beautifying the city of Fort Myers. We're looking forward to more pride and even greater progress. This is DJ Wilkins for the Party News Network.
You know, here in Paradise is enjoying our beaches in the way we have grown accustomed. You get it? For the art scene, we go to sculptor DJ Wilkins for a word on restoration of an airborne monument. Airborne. No, the 82nd Airborne.
This monument behind me was constructed to commemorate the bravery, courage, and the accomplishments of the airborne services. It was constructed here by the Gulf Coast 82nd Division of the Airborne. Now, as an ex-Marine, I can tell you something about the airborne services. Even us Marines didn't mess with these guys. Their courage, their bravery, and their willingness to do things that most of us would shudder at the thought of made them the special people that they are. But it's our opinion and the opinion of others that this monument can do more to glorify the efforts that these people so gave their lives and their services to the country for. And what we want to do is change this into something that tells the real story of the airborne. The monument will be reworked into a style similar to the North European war memorials. It'll become more descriptive. On the front side of it, in glyphic relief, will be depicted the invasion of Normandy. On the other side over here will be depicted the assault on the Rhine. On the back side of it, the invasion of Holland. And on the opposite side of it, the retaking of Corregidor. These are the 4 major battles that the paratroopers participated in. The entire monument will be redesigned in such a way to where walking around it will give you the story of the airborne services. The eagles on top will be similar to those of the 101st Airborne Screaming Eagles. The entire monument should glorify the airborne services and should make all of us proud of how we've treated these brave men.
Great idea, Chuck. The arts and business communities of Southwest Florida are getting organized. Now we go to the Party News Network's public arts proponent and master fountain engineer, sculptor DJ Wilkins, to complete this tag team coverage of this most pressing picture of public participation.
Just to set the record straight, Harry Light and I decided one day to do a story on the Big John, comparing it to Michelangelo's David. We decided to do the story for the April 1st show, the April Fool's show. Since then, the thing's turned into a major issue. It's been a front page story in the local newspapers. It's been on other television stations. There's artists coming out of the woodwork in the defense of this piece. First off, we have to figure out, is it art? And if it's art, why keep it here? Let's take a closer look at this issue. One of the problems with dealing with Big John is the question, is he art? Well, there's a way of resolving that. Let me tell you a little story. In the early part of this century, a fellow named Marcel Duchamp asked the question, why should I make an object identical to that object and my object be art? Why not sign the first object? The art world looked at that as a question and decided, yeah, dub it art. We're going to dub Big John art. I hereby sign Big John, invoking the Marcel Duchamp Art Powers Act in the spirit of the continuing conspiracy to commit culture, sometimes known as the CCCC. See? Due to the overwhelming response by the business and the art community, Big John is going to be completely restored. P&N has the plan. There'll be block parties around Big John. There'll be bands. Music will probably be written for the occasion. Artists will turn out in a marathon creative session to bring Big John from the 60s into the 80s. Big John will be completely redressed from top to bottom in contemporary, modern Florida clothes. We want to bring him right along with us. He is now officially fine art. The art community can no longer be divided over whether he is or he isn't. Now they can be united in force as they've wanted to be from the start in participating in the saving of this piece of pop art from the 1960s. This is DJ Wilkins for the Party News Network.
Just part of...
Or just to help out a friend. Last show, the Party News Network's resident public artist and authority, DJ Wilkins, told us about how cities and counties around the country go out of town to find pieces of art for the locale, when they could easily have stayed here and found great artists to do the job. I agree, but I feel we spend too much time out of town for more than our art. Why is it when actors are cast, they're brought in from Miami? Or to get work, one has to go to Miami or Orlando to get casts. When I was in Nashville, I was cast for something that was shot in Miami. And what about sewer contracts? Need I remind you of the fiasco that followed Lee County around for nearly a year after they hired an out-of-town contractor to build the regional airport? So here's DJ Wilkins with some more on local art scene.
The city of Fort Myers is in a state of rebirth, renaissance they call it. A drive down McGregor Boulevard will reveal that to anyone. The beautiful fountains and lovely statuary that have been restored are a reflection of the private sector's interest in beauty and symmetry. The Fort Myers Beautification Committee every year restores and beautifies more and more of the city. The city is actually becoming one of the most beautiful places in Florida. Every time I come downtown to Fort Myers City Hall to pay my water bill, I walk past this fountain. And as a sculptor who designs fountains, I try very hard to appreciate and like it. But it's just not working. In fountains and water sculptures, the water is usually the main player. Whenever the structure itself dominates the water event and controls it to the point to where it looks mechanical, it starts looking like a sewage treatment plant. Water sculpture and fountains need a sense of either serenity, drama, or a combination of both. But in this fountain, the water is enslaved by concrete. All of its natural attributes are taken away. It's made to run through flat troughs and spill into sheets. And the concrete ends up to be the most dominant aspect of the fountain. Water bills aren't nearly as beautiful as water. But there is hope for this fountain. I found out only yesterday that the Fort Myers Beautification Committee has been asked to get involved. And when that happens, everything always looks better. So instead of looking like our water is being treated here, we'll be treated to what water can look like. This is DJ Wilkins for the Party News Network.
The reasons we should be moved to 11 o'clock. Last show, in a moment of absolute burlesque, we accidentally unearthed an issue of great debate on the Cape. It's the Big John debate. Some say in a city of 24 or so years, the history is too dear to see go. Others say if he's taken now, future generations will be spared the embarrassment. Some liken him to a loud tie that one hides in the recesses of one's closet. Here's public art authority, sculptor D.J. Wilkins, to tell us more.
Last week we took a look at the Big John statue here in Cape Coral. You might have thought that that was all a big joke. But to the people here in Cape Coral, this is no joke. So what is public art? Let's look at some examples. By the standards we use for judging public art in public places, a sculpture piece should have a discernible message, be aesthetically pleasing, and be of service. The Big John qualifies in all those categories. Let's look at another piece of sculpture and see how well it fares. Marianne by Athena Taka. She sent down a set of plans, and George Mann and Donald Atkins built it. She came down for the dedication, it rained, and went back to wherever she's from. That doesn't tell us much about the piece. It cost $50,000 to build it. And the college, ECC, here went out of town to commission somebody to do it, which is typical of art projects. Nobody fishes under their own dock. We're across campus at the Barbara Mann Performing Arts Hall. And behind me here is an excellent example of public art. It was done by Greg Wilkins. It's the portrait of Barbara Mann. There were 5 other paintings commissioned before this painting by Greg was commissioned. They were all from people from out of town. Our local artists have the capacity to do anything that's needed in this community, from fine art sculpture to quality video, from abstract expressionism to representational realism. There's never a need to go out of town to find talent.
We're fortunate here in this part of paradise to have culture in spite of ourselves. The community has something dear. They will do almost anything to keep it. This week, our public art expert sculptor D.J. Wilkins tells us of a push by Cape Coral to keep their most treasured piece of public art intact.
Michelangelo's David and Big John have a few things in common. Sort of in common. Michelangelo's David is in the counterposto position. I guess we'd say Big John is in the pasta-posto position. I understand they're going to restore this piece. So I thought I'd come over and take a look at it. I guess we'll call it Fiberglass Revival. Now, if Robert Rauschenberg can put a tire around a dead goat and call it art, it'd be safe to call this art, wouldn't it? What do you think of Big John?
Well, he's not David. I don't believe you'd find him in Florence, but he's definitely a landmark. I kind of like him.
What do you think will be the fate of Big John?
Well, I heard he was coming down. I heard that the CRA, they're going to redo the back here, and he is not in the plans of the CRA.
They're really having to cut down the size of the parking lot, and I think they want to eliminate the Big John statue to give the parking lot more space. Somebody has to adopt Big John and take care of him, because he is really a historic landmark of Cape Coral.
As you can see, Big John doesn't stand alone. But who's going to adopt Big John and clean his act up? We'll be following this story intently over the next few weeks to see what will be the fate of Big John. This is D.J. Wilkins for the Party News Network.